Imagine you are in prison, you're 40 years old, you've been convicted twice, you are charged with being the head of a major crime family, and you're about to be released from prison. You got no money, you got nothing to rely. Chances of getting a job are very, very bleak. So what do you do? And then what do you do when your counselor tells you, why are you going home? You're a legend here. You got food, you got housing, everybody respects you. Who's going to hire you? There's nobody hiring out there convicted drug felons. Well, you know what? I just chose, and remember that word, choose, not to believe those words. I choose to believe that I have faith that God could help me if I did my part. See, the way I feel is we just don't sit there and say, oh, God, do this for me, do that for that. I don't see God work that way. I just believe that we sacrifice, we work hard, and we, take chances and take good chances. So, I just felt that, hey, I was going to make it. No matter what, I was going to make it. And I decided the route for me immediately was to become a college professor. That meant I had to finish my master's, and that meant I had to go into a Ph.D. program, which, think about it, my last degree was at the University of Miami in accounting. So what was I going to do when I did enter that Ph.D. program? And because I had the highest test scores entering into the program on my graduate record exams, I was given the largest scholarship in the doctoral class. But you know what was funny? I listened. I listened to those kids talk. They came from Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I couldn't understand. I thought it was a different language. I could not understand their language. I didn't even know where to put a comma. When I wrote my first paper, I never forget that it was about a passage in the Gospel of Mark about divorce. It was a 20-page paper that I wrote. The teacher, I'll never forget her name, Dr. Wendy Carter, wrote back about 21 pages about how horrible my paper was. And then she wrote in there, you don't even know how to write. You don't even know where comma, semicolon, you don't know where paragraphs end and begin? Of course I didn't know. I was 20 years old when I left college in accounting, not in grammar, not an English major. And here I was now 40 years old in a theological program where the challenge was that I had to learn 5 other languages. But let me focus on the English language that I had to learn. So she made a note at the bottom that said, but you know what? Somehow, George, I think you got what it takes. Are you willing to pay the price? So I went to see her. And when I went to see her, I said, Dr. Carter, I have no choice. I believe this is a calling for me, and this is what I want to do. I want to become a college professor. I want to earn my PhD. She said, you do realize there's only 5 Hispanics in the entire country with a PhD in Bible and ethics compared to 5,000 Anglos. So the chances of you or Hispanics making are very, very minute. She says, but if you're willing to pay the price. I said, what is the price? She said, well, I talked to another doctoral student in English that's willing to tutor you and teach you proper English. I said, I'll do it. She said, you got to be here at 6:30 in the morning. That was in Chicago. I lived in Wheaton, an hour away. You know how cold Wheaton gets? You know how Cubans hate cold? That meant I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had 4:30. I had to do my devotional. I had to exercise, and then I had to leave no later than 5:15 to make it to Loyola University in Chicago. But I did it. I did it every day for a year, and I learned how to write. And I did earn my PhD, and I earned it faster than anybody else. But why? Because I was so laser focused. I did pass advanced exams in German, in Latin, in Greek, in French, and of course in Spanish. I'm not saying this to brag in any which way or form, but it's just to let you know that if I did it, you can do it too. The question becomes, are we willing to pay the price? See, sometimes in life we cry about what we don't have or how bad things are for us, but we don't do anything about it. We just sit there and cry and whine, and nothing changes. Year comes, year goes. We get older, and then suddenly we get to an age, 70, 80, when we no longer can do physical labor, and we got nothing to rely upon. So if we don't have children that are willing to take us and help us, then we have to rely upon the government to put us in a nursing home. Horrible. I was 40 years old. I did not for a second accept what society and the world was telling me was the norm, that I could not make it. I believed that I could make it. I believed that I could reinvent myself. I had faith. I had faith in a God who forgives. I didn't have faith that God was going to bring things to me or God was going to do this or that. No, my faith simply was that if I did the best I could, if I work hard, if I sacrifice, somehow He would add the increase. That was just what I believed. Maybe I was naive. But I did earn the Ph.D. in 6 years compared to 10 to my fellow students. And I did become a professor at a very prestigious university. And then when I felt that I couldn't feed my family on the salary of a college professor, when I realized that the most important thing my father gave me was his presence, not money, and that I was living 1,200 miles away from my children, yes, we'd have fun in the summer, and yes, I send a check every month. That wasn't enough. They needed my presence. They needed me to be there, and I needed to be there. Because my father taught me what it meant to be present. So we moved. Didn't know how we were going to survive. There was no university to teach. So my wife and I started a business cleaning houses and cleaning toilets and doing whatever we had to earn an earnest living. And little by little, in 10 years, I built it into a multi-million-dollar business. I'm not special. I'm not gifted. I'm not that smart. When people tell me, what is your secret? I tell them it's real simple. Number one, I believe that no matter how bad things get, they will change. I believe that if somebody works 8 hours and I work 10 hours, I will become better than that person. See, I didn't invent a damn thing. I didn't invent how to sell cocaine. I didn't invent, how to restore buildings. I had no clue about it. But I learned because every day I chose to read and read and read. Because see, my brothers and sisters, you have a choice in life to grow or die. If you're not growing every day, you are dying every day. Believe that. You are the author of your destiny. You don't have to be gifted. You don't have to be smart. People say that even the smartest person in the world uses less than 1% of their brain capacity. Imagine us. All you got to do is be willing to, number one, pay the price. Number two, sacrifice. Number three, outwork your competition. And number four, do everything you can to grow, to learn, to build your mindset so that no longer you accept I can't and you just change it for the word how can I. You no longer accept it is impossible, but you change it for the word how can it be possible. You no longer change it that I can do what he did, for if he can do it or she can do it, I can also do it. Might take me longer, but I can. This new year, my message to you is write yourself a 3x5 card like I did when I got out. And things looked very, very bleak for me. On top of that, I got so sick in Wheaton, I didn't know anybody. It was die-hard cold in the 15s. And I lay there in the sofa, literally wanting to die and just crying out to what was I doing there? Why didn't I go back to Miami? You see, I didn't go back to Miami because if you want to change a bad past, you need to get away from the place that past was created. So I didn't move. I moved. I moved way across Miami to Chicago. And I just hung in there because I also told me this. I also wrote a 3x5 card that said, don't doubt in darkness what God has revealed in the light. See, I read, and I believe in the promises that if I do all I can, if I try to be a person of integrity, if I help my fellow brothers, call it karma, call it faith, call it whatever you want to call it. But I believe that things come back to us. I believe when we do bad, evil comes. When we do good, good eventually comes. And then simply the third card, don't look back. See, when we're in a situation in our life that things are just not the way we believe that we're going to be or where we want them to be, we can't look back. Looking back keeps us in the past. We got to look forward. And if we stumble, then our new mindset doesn't tell us that we have failed. It just tells us that, oh, wow, wonderful. What an amazing lesson. I will learn from this. See, it's all about your mindset. It's all about how you look at life. It's all about what you believe. See, every choice you make in your life becomes part of your story. Think about that. It becomes like a movie. Movies are shot in different segments, of different stories, in different scenes. And if you look at the happy scene, you think the movie's a happy movie. If you look at the sad scenes, you think that movie is a sad movie. If you look at the scary scene, you think the movie is a horror movie. But when the movies, all those things are put together, it's a good movie. And see, the movies, the choices you have made, the movie of your life right now doesn't have to end this way. You can reinvent yourself. If George Valdes did it, you can too. Question is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to look forward, not look backwards? Are you willing to outwork anybody else? Are you willing to use social media to learn and not to be entertained? Are you willing to grow, or you just want to die? You need to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. And this year can be an amazing year. No matter what happens, it can be an amazing year. Because right now, we are gifted. The fact that we are alive, the fact that you're listening and looking at my video, you are a gift person. There's a lot of people that ended the year thinking that they will see the new year and did not. So thank God. It's a great time to be alive. As long as you're alive, you can change your life. As long as you're alive, you can change the destiny of your life. As long as you're alive, you can change the world. You know how we change the world? Impact another person's lives. So, my brothers, sisters, I wish you a happy new year. And I pray to God that you will learn from the horrors and the bad experiences that I've had. And I pray that somehow what I have to say will somehow help you to just become a little better. Because if every day your goal is to become a little better person, just a little better father or mother, or just a little better human being. If you can do that every day we can become a little better. And if we become a little better every day, eventually we become a whole lot better. Be blessed. Have a happy new year.